Hey guys, Burns Vaughan here. In this video I'm going to explain to you whether the i7 is okay and good for Windows 11. So Windows 11 came out around the start of this year, 2023, and most people are pretty much on Windows 10, but a lot of people have now upgraded to Windows 11. So you may have an old i7, like a 4th, 5th, 6th generation i7, or you may have a newer one. So in this article I did a bunch of in-depth research to explain that for you. I was also doing it myself because I was interested in getting a new laptop, so I was just seeing what the deal is there. So essentially, as you may know, all of the i7s, all of the i-series processors that Intel makes have different generations. So there's first, second, third, all the way up to 13. Currently, Intel only sells the 4th generation and newer. Essentially, anything newer than a 4th generation will be fast enough to run Windows 11, but anything older than that will be a bit clunky and slow and not really usable. And if you have one of those, you're better off sticking with the OS that you have. And essentially, if you do have one of those, you're probably running Windows 7. The other key thing to note, which you may not be aware of, is that Windows 10 and Windows 11 perform exactly the same on the same computer. So say you have a computer at the moment that's running Windows 10 and it runs really well. If you upgrade to Windows 11, it'll run exactly the same. This is based on a whole bunch of testing data that I've done research into. The other thing is that the Windows 11 is only supported on i-series processors that are the 7th generation or newer, right? So there's the i3, the i5, the i7, which we're covering here, and the i9. All of them, only the 8th generation, 9th generation, 10th, all the way up to 13 are supported by Microsoft. So what that means is that if you're running Windows and you have a problem, you can explain what happened on the Windows support forums, and the customer support and technical support reps will help you. Like they'll say, oh, can you give us, they'll ask you to take some data from your computer so they can see what the issue is there. So if you do install Windows 11 on an i7 that's a 7th generation or older, so a 7th, a 6th or a 5th, if you have a problem, you can't submit that to Microsoft to get help with it. And also the other thing is, if you are installing Windows 11 on one of those PCs, you need to do a little bit of a workaround, but that's sort of a topic for another discussion. Essentially, if you have a i7 that's an 8th generation or newer, you'll get a notification in your Windows updates that Windows 11 is available. Do you want to update it? And you can just do that free of charge. It uses your existing Windows license, right? So essentially, that pretty much covers it. So if you've got an 8th generation i7 or newer, it's fully supported, no problems at all, and it's definitely fast enough. If it's older than that, you need to do a bit of a workaround and it'll still work, and usually you won't have any problems, but if you do, you can't get support for it. So it's kind of up to you. You probably want to either stick with Windows 10 or update it. The data that Microsoft put out they did like thousands and thousands of tests. They found that if the i7 is older than an 8th generation, it has double the bugs, so it'll randomly crash or something, than an 8th generation or newer. But if you look into the data, the actual percentage of issues, like when it crashes and things like that, is very, 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 very small. So chances are, if you have an older than an 8th generation i7, you won't have any problems. So I would say just go ahead with it. If you're consistently having problems, you can easily just revert back to Windows 10, and they work pretty much exactly the same. The main difference is that with Windows 11, the UI is much nicer. So I've just put here the different so currently Intel only sells 4th generation and newer. They don't sell the older ones, but some of you guys might have some of the older ones. Okay, and I'll just cover a few more things here. So here's sort of how they perform on Windows 11. So as you can see, a 4th generation can handle resource intensive programs like gaming, but it will be quite slow. And then if you've got a 6th generation or newer, it can easily handle resource intensive programs like gaming. So just have a quick look through here, and if you actually want to check what i7 you have, you just go into your this PC, I think it is. Just try to find it. Yep, so as you can see here, I'm running the 10th gen i3. So you can just see which one you have there. And this sort of gives you more of a breakdown about how well they work running Windows 11. So say you have an i7 6th gen, can you browse the web and work on documents? Yes, and it has good performance. Can you use resource intensive programs like video editing software? Yes, but it's kind of like the minimum requirement. And then can you use it for gaming? Yes, and it's the minimum requirement for graphics intensive games like Steam games like Call of Duty, Dota 2, CSGO, things like that. So there's a bit more details in this article here. Definitely check it out if you want a bit more info, but that pretty much covers everything. I'll put the link to this article in the description below. And if you have any other questions or you're a bit confused about it, just drop it in the comments and I can quickly answer it for you.